Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name's Mariah and this is Mariah's Moods. So today, let's talk about the dreaded reading slump. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where it just seems like no matter what you do, you have no motivation to read, nothing sounds really good, and everything that you pick up just isn't hitting the way that it's supposed to? Well, my friends, you have found yourself in a reading slump. There are different reasons why you may find yourself in a reading slump. It could be that you just finished a really great book and nothing that you pick up after is slapping the same way, aka a book hangover. It could be that you've read a lot of books that you may have enjoyed, or maybe not, but just the act of binge reading has left you really exhausted. Or it could be that life outside of reading is either busy, stressful, or otherwise just taking priority at the moment. Either way, all of these reasons boil down to burnout. Reading slumps can feel very confusing because you feel like you want to read, but everything you pick up is just not hitting. Slumps are discouraging and can make you feel defeated because you want to read, but you just don't have the motivation. Or sometimes they just make you flat out mad. But have no fear, because I am here with 10 tips and tricks to get you out of a reading slump. Disclaimer, these tips and tricks have helped me. They may not be as effective for you because everyone is different, but I still suggest that you give these a try and see if they help. So let's get to the tips and tricks. Tip number 1, reflect on why you're in a reading slump and listen to your body. As I said, many reading slumps are due to burnout. Listen to your body. You are probably overexhausted for a variety of reasons, and reading may need to take a back seat, and that is okay. Ride out the slump. Get some rest. If you are looking for an outlet, try some other hobbies besides reading. I like to craft, watch TV, listen to podcasts, anything that gives me the escape of reading without the mental load of reading. Eventually, you will get your motivation back. Tip number 2. Reread a favorite book. This is a pretty common recommendation, but I promise it's a good one. And I know that it sounds a little bit like a waste of time because we all want to get through our TBR, but rereading a favorite book can really reignite your love of reading and get you to be motivated to read something new. Also, rereading favorites is an easy way to dip back into reading because you're familiar with the story, so it's not going to take too much mental effort. And you're really going to be there for the comfort and the familiarity of the story, and it's just something cozy to kind of sink back into. Tip number 3, try changing genres. This is something that I do regularly to prevent a reading slump. I tend to read a lot of fantasy, and because of my ADHD, I like to hyperfixate on certain tropes and plot devices, and so I find myself reading the same thing over and over. This inevitably leads to a slump. So to combat that, I like to change up the genre. If I just finished a fantasy that had a lot of politics and action and it was just very mentally straining, I like to pick up something very different for my next read. So I might do a lighthearted romance or a very short thriller, something that is different than what I just finished to keep it fresh. Now, if you are someone that kind of reads just one specific genre, which is completely fine, maybe try to change up some of the tropes that you find within that genre. So maybe you really love the fake dating trope in romance. Maybe your next read, do something different. Maybe a bodyguard romance, maybe a small town romance, maybe an enemies to lovers. Anything to keep it fresh and not stale. Tip number 4. Change your reading format. So on the topic of change, try to change the format in which you are reading your books. If you tend to read a lot of physical books, try an ebook or an audiobook. Honestly, you can switch between all 3 formats. You can even mix up the formats. Audiobooks with ebooks or physical books are always great options. I feel like reading a physical book and listening to an audiobook together really takes off the mental load of reading, so you can really just enjoy the story. I know that ebooks and audiobooks specifically can be expensive. Check out your local library. Most libraries are connected to apps like Libby or Overdrive. They allow you to check out digital books and audiobooks for free. I don't know what I would do without my public library. I would probably be broke. Tip number 5, read some short books. Sometimes simply finishing a book is enough to get you out of your slump and motivated to keep reading. Try some short books like manga, graphic novels, poetry collections, short story collections, novellas. Taking in a bunch of quick story bites helps to fill you up so that you're ready to tackle a full-length novel, and you'll feel really accomplished. Tip number 6, taste test some books. Sometimes it takes a couple of taste tests to figure out what you're in the mood to read. Go to your shelves or the local library, grab a few books, read the first chapter or two of each book, and choose the one that seems the most interesting or intriguing to you. Give that one a try. But remember, if it doesn't spark joy, put it down. It is okay to DNF. It could be a hard DNF, like I'm never going to read this again, or it could be a soft DNF, like I'm going to put it down for now because it might not be the right moment to read this book, but I may pick it up in the future. Pushing through a book during a reading slump can really make it worse. Trust me. Tip number 7, change your reading location or reading routine. For some people, myself included, repetition can lead to monotony, which leads to boredom and lack of motivation. I feel like many readers have a specific time or location that they do majority of their reading for whatever reason. I do most of my reading at night after my kids are asleep because there is nothing worse than being interrupted while you're reading. But repeating the same routine while you're in a reading slump can feel boring and uninspired. So try changing it up. Try reading during the opposite time than usual. This is where changing those formats can really help. Audiobooks in the car ride to work, an ebook from your phone on your lunch break. Try changing your locations. Instead of in bed, try the couch. Try a local coffee shop. Try your public library. They tend to have lots of cozy places to read. Again, change can keep things fresh. Tip number 8, look at bookish content. Go to the socials, BookTube, Bookstagram, Book Talk, bookish podcasts. Sometimes just listening to people talk about books or be excited about books can motivate you to read books. Now, this is not a plug for you to go back and watch my old videos, although I would love it. Honestly, consuming bookish content is one of the ways that I have found to be most effective to get me out of a reading slump. For me, the hype that certain books get across various platforms motivate me to read them. I either want to join the hype or figure out what the big deal is. I'm looking at you, Fourth Wing. Tip number 9, ditch the phone. Yes, you heard me right. I'm telling you to put your phone somewhere away from you while you are trying to read. When trying to get out of a book slump, I have found that having my phone nearby is the worst. If I'm already struggling to read and books are barely holding my attention, and if I have my phone nearby, it will inevitably end in excessive scrolling. I'll pick up my phone, and next thing I know, it's 30 minutes later and my precious reading time has been wasted. If leaving your phone in another room or far away from you is not an option, there are productivity apps that you can use to help you stay focused while reading. For example, Flora is an app that I use. Flora is a, quote, free productivity app that helps you stay off your phone, clear to-do lists, and build positive life-changing habits, end quote. I am not sponsored, but I do highly recommend this app. I use this when my daughter is playing outside. For safety purposes, I don't like my phone to be far away from me because, parenting. This app helps me stay focused on the task at hand, and in this case, reading. And now for our final tip. Tip number 10. Make reading a social event. Intermixing reading and social time can really keep you motivated. If you don't have a book club nearby or the thought of going to a book club can be anxiety-inducing, there are so many other ways to stay connected with other readers, like here on BookTube. You can have discussion through comments, you can participate in reading challenges, or in a readathon. There are literally so many out there. So in the month of August, I'm going to be participating in the Romance Readathon that is hosted by Maggie from Maggie's Books and Stuff. I'll link her channel and her readathon announcement below. In a nutshell, it is a month-long readathon where you join a team and read some romance books to earn points. The team at the end with the most points wins. You get to read books and discuss them with so many people. And since it's a little bit of a competition, it kind of keeps you motivated to keep reading and earning more points. If a readathon doesn't really seem like your cup of tea, you can always simply buddy read with a friend. Either way, finding support and motivation through a community is so effective. So those are the 10 tips and tricks that I have for getting out of a reading slump. I know that reading slumps are never fun, but I promise there is light at the end of the tunnel. I'm currently in a reading slump, so I'm going to head out of here and use some of these tips and tricks. I am always trying to better myself and make life as easy as possible. So in the comments, leave me some of your strategies for getting out of a reading slump. If you like this video, go ahead, like, subscribe, do all of the things. If you like bookish lifestyle content, you're in the right place. Hope you're having a wonderful time out there and your day is full of good moods and good vibes. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye!